Hello everyone and welcome to the August edition of the AAA. That's the Ask Antony Anything session with myself, Antony Trenchev, managing partner and co-founder of Nexo. Excited to be here. I took one of the very few vacations during the past 4 years. Yesterday was the first day in the office, lots to catch up on. Exciting things and days in the crypto industry. It would appear NFTs are not going away, despite what people might have predicted. I am back in the office, hitting it hard for you guys to make sure we have and continue to have the most amazing products and services associated with your digital finances so that we can help you continue to meet your personal financial goals. And we are super excited. To me, September through December are the most exciting months. It's usually when the most action of the year takes place. As a student, I remember, in the history books, like any significant event, it was either in September or October. World War II comes to mind. It's not the most positive of events and occurrences in history, but a bunch of different exciting things have been launched in September. So super excited to see what September 2021 has in store for us. And without further ado, let's kick this thing off. First question comes from Johan, Joanne, Johan, depending on which part of the country, of the globus you're at. So John asks us, any updates on the card? No. Moving on to the next question. Just kidding. Not a whole lot to report upon since we last spoke. On the card front, one positive thing, if you remember, I said that we are on track to be seeing the second installment of shippings of the card, more likely in the US than in Europe. It will appear that we have ironed out some of the rough patches on the path to the card in Europe, so it is en route as well. I do hope that this final quarter of the year will bring some positive news on that front. But apart from that, not a whole lot to report upon. So we can move on to the next question. Are there any plans for any sort of integration with the Terra Network, such as allowing deposits and repayment with UST or wrapped UST, or integration with Anchor protocol, etc.? Please consider it. We are considering it. I remember an early advisor of ours putting us in contact with the Terra guys very, very early on, probably the midst of 2019. And they were saying, yeah, we're working on some few exciting things, and there's going to be a stable coin. And I was rather skeptical and saying, don't we have enough stable coins? And we only had like 3 or 4, and now there are a bunch of different ones, and they have grown in popularity and usefulness for the space. And the Terra protocol themselves have been able to deliver some great features, especially in the southeast of Asia. So we are in touch with the guys. We are exploring various opportunities of what could potentially be possible as a partnership between our two great companies. But we don't have an exact timeline as to when this will unfold, or if it's going to unfold for that matter. So we are considering it, but we haven't made any significant progress which can be reported on. So as soon as this changes, I will make sure to update you, but not on the foreseeable future. Same goes for Anchor, the protocol. Same goes for all of the other protocols which are gaining popularity. It's just so many things happening, and we're close to 300 people with Nexo, and everybody's super busy with a different integration, but it's just the way that the platform is designed, or any platform is really designed for you to work on something. You got to stop working on something else, and we do think that we have all hands on deck on the absolutely crucial, necessary and requested features that we're working on, and this sort of integrations are going to come on later in the game. Next question. When will you okay, let me start over. Do you think the share buyback, well, not really share, but token, buyback has been successful, and will you be doing another one? What do you think of the lack of liquidity of the NEXO token? Asks us Simeon. That sounds like a nice Eastern European name, so salute to you, Simeon. That's a very good question. Let's go backwards, start with the second one. I don't think that the NEXO token has problems with its liquidity. Think we rather have dip liquidity. It obviously is connected and intertwined with the overall liquidity of the market, and sometimes liquidity dries up, especially during downturns, and we do try and help out then with providing the necessary liquidity, but there are instances where so much can be done, but generally I think we have good liquidity. The NEXO token is listed on, obviously it's not on Binance, which is on everybody's mind, but it's on Huobi, it's on Bitfinex, it's on a bunch of different very liquid and exciting exchanges which can support large rounds of liquidity and large block of trades. And if you have particular needs for both the buy and sell side of the NEXO token, you can always reach out to the OTC desk. We have one of the larger and better OTC desks in the space, and they can deliver customized solution for your particular needs, whatever they might be. Obviously they have to be above a certain threshold. This is how all OTC desks work. They have a minimum below which they do not take on clients, but if you're worried about liquidity, it usually goes with size. So if you are in the need to do any sort of large block trading, do not hesitate to reach out to the OTC desk. And same goes for any asset class. It's not just the NEXO token. Same goes for Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, whatever your preferred coin is. We have a very efficient smart routing system for the orders, where they hit the most liquid exchanges, and monitoring the depth of the order book in a very efficient way, and I can provide very attractive prices for those larger trades. Now, this was the second question. I'll finish off with the first one of Simeon's questions, and that was with regards to the token buyback, not quite a share buyback. We haven't sold any shares for us to buy back. Nexo is a privately held company. Take some pride into that, because whereas certain companies within the lending space have been reliant on the constant securing of outside funding, because they don't have the business model to generate the funds for the interest rates, for the interest that they are paying on the promised interest rates. We have been very different, very conservative in that aspect, and that's why Nexo is 100% founder and team owned, even at present. So no share buybacks, but the NEXO token buyback has been, in my humble opinion, a phenomenal success. You can see that related in the to a certain extent in the price action of the NEXO token. I'm not gonna say or pretend so because of the buyback. It's not. It's because of the hard work we put in and the incredible utilities the perks that you have with buying and owning and holding and staking the NEXO token that have come to be brought to you by us, the team. And but the NEXO token buyback has been a phenomenal success in my opinion, and I don't think we have exhausted all the funds that we have dedicated to the program, but once we'll definitely consider expanding that and doing another round because it has been such a success. So yeah, I can answer your question in the affirmative. Next one. When will US customers be able to earn 2% in Nexo and purchase Nexo tokens on the platform, asks Joe. Well, Joe, that's the trillion dollar question. It all ties in with regulation, which has been on the active spectrum this past few months, and we have to see how this plays out. Obviously, the United States being the world's largest economy and the second largest economy, China, banning anything crypto related every other month. We have to be very careful what we're doing here. We have to be consistent, compliant, and very sure as not to break any securities laws in the United States, just to guarantee the sustainability of the enterprise and the longevity of the project and the products that we are offering. So there's no simple answer here. It is a matter of finally determining together with our legal counsel, particularly in the United States, what the current status of not only the NEXO token but a bunch of different other digital assets is with regards to security laws in the United States, so as to have the necessary confidence to offer this product in the United States. And same goes for the purchase of the NEXO token, the way that the new SEC administration has been going about it, with regards to what assets will be able to be traded on exchanges in general, and by extension, the Nexo internal exchange. I'm not super excited and convinced that it's going to be a growing list, but rather a shrinking one, at least temporarily. But yeah, I mean, this is definitely outside our hands. We don't want to touch anything that could potentially jeopardize, the entity and by extension, you, the client. So we're very, very conservative here, and we are eagerly awaiting more clarity with the regards of the mandate of the SEC, especially in what will be deemed securities and what not. A certain competitor of ours, appears to have stepped on the regulator's toes, so we want to be as careful as possible here. I'm sure you can understand and appreciate that, and you wouldn't want us have to do anything in any other possible way. Next question. Will there be any products for mortgages and auto? Asks us Yvonne Taylor. Well, that's a very good question. We are lots to unpack here. Now, traditional mortgages where you pledge your real estate and get financing against it is not something that we can at this stage offer to our clients, because there's the questions about rehypothecation of the real estate and how do you secure it, and until everything is not tokenized and can be traded on exchanges, we do not have the ability to extend credit, for the simple reason that we have opted when we designed Nexo to be as inclusive as possible. And in order to achieve that, the way we have structured the Nexo product is to have, a process which does not involve credit scoring. Because if you have to do credit scoring, it limits you to the very developed countries of this world, United States, the European, the Western hemisphere of the world, if you will, and not even all countries in the Western hemisphere, but the more developed economies. And we opted for a different route, whereby as soon as you know who you are, as soon as we know what your source of funds are, and that you're not a terrorist, as long as you have then the collateral, we will be extending you a loan. And that's the beauty to me to the Nexo, of the Nexo product, is this concept of being very open, very transparent, very inclusive, and we're not worrying about credit checks. And if we go down the route of traditional mortgages, we have to see titles of the real estate and how we hypothecate that, has to do with the liquidity of the markets, a bunch of things that we are not in the best position to assess, so that's why we don't want to do that. Same goes for cars. It's even more complicated, as these are moving assets and they're inherently to a very large extent diminishing value. Real estate usually goes up, cars value usually goes down, unless you have some fancy Bugatti, which, I don't know, you acquire for $1 million, and because of its scarcity, it's worth, I don't know, 2 million or whatever these things are worth. I'm not an expert on cars, and certainly not on Bugattis, but you get what I'm saying. It's very complicated to determine the right loan-to-value ratios and defaults and things we have very hard worked on not having to worry about, and now all of a sudden it will be a step backwards in my mind, in my opinion. Now, having said that, we have a bunch of clients who have used their credit lines. In other words, they have some crypto assets, they have borrowed against those crypto assets, and now they're using it to buy houses, they're using to buy condos, they're using to buy Teslas. Well, before Elon Musk flipped on us, before flipping again. So I don't know what type of cars people are buying, but they're definitely use cases. You can check it out on Twitter every other day. There's a person, giving a shout out to Nexo, me personally, for having helped them get a loan which they have used to buy a car or real estate. Now, obviously, one of the more famous cases was when Brock Pierce, child actor and early Bitcoin adopter, borrowed against his Bitcoin to borrow assets, and then purchased this beautiful property which used to be a Catholic chapel, and it's now turned into a livable apartment. He purchased that asset via his credit line. Bitcoin was trading at $3,000 at this time, so he has been able to get the flat, the deal financing itself, and then making a capital gains tax of, I don't know, probably 15x, which is incredible, and he's a very happy camper. So yeah, people have been using Nexo to get mortgages, not in the traditional sense of pledging their house or real estate, but they have been finding ways around that by which they can accomplish precisely that. When will the proof of reserves audited report be presented? Well, the audited report is a more complicated endeavor than the proof of reserves. We are in the final stages of the proof of reserves element, which is a precondition for the audited report, and I'm hopeful we will release it very soon. I think that people will be pleasantly surprised by the release date. It might be sooner than everybody is expecting. There are a few things to be ironed out, and they are being ironed out. We have an incredible accounting team and finance department here at Nexo. Shout out to them. They've done an amazing work. One of the few and first companies that will have a proof of reserves. I don't think anyone apart from exchanges has that, and not even all exchanges. There are very few that maintain up-to-date proof of reserves, so we will be pioneers yet again on another front, and I'm super excited about that, and it will come probably sooner than everybody thinks. Hi Antony, is there a specific project that Nexo is looking forward to partner with? Asks Mac. I don't have a specific project on top of my mind that might be interrelated, that I was on vacation for 2 weeks and I'm catching up on a bunch of things that I had not engaged with for those 2 weeks, and I have to see what business development is doing, and they always are doing something. So I don't have a particular project in mind right now, but there's always something in the pipeline, and I'll have to double check with them, and I will let you know. Are we ever going to be able to buy stocks on the Nexo platform in the future? Asks Uger or Uger. I don't know how I ought to pronounce it, but it's a very good question. And it goes back to, yet again, regulation. You saw in early 2021 where a bunch of different exchanges, Binance comes to mind, and FTX and some of the other exchanges, they were very quickly to tokenize stocks and give the opportunity to trade derivatives on certain stocks and commodities and other assets to their clients. And at least in the United States, they were very quickly forced to retrace those actions because of the securities laws implications. And when I saw that, and there was some excitement in the Nexo team, the trading team, we have a trading arm, and I was super excited for us to do the same. And it was like, yeah, well, maybe not so fast, because the regulator is going to have a little say in here, and sure enough, that's what happened. So I don't like Nexo and the dev team and the team in general to be investing a bunch of time and effort in something that will have questionable outcome in the aspect of how long we'll be able to offer this product. So all things equal, I would prefer us work on other things rather than invest time, money, and effort in something that has a questionable regulatory framework. So I don't think we'll be able to trade stocks in the very near future. I think the SEC has to bring in some clarity here, or we will have to buy alternative trading system or a brokerage, apply for a brokerage license in the United States to be able to offer this product. I know some of the other guys have continued to offer this to non-US citizens, but this can have some repercussions as well, and we are not at this stage investing in this type of product. Hope you appreciate the honesty here. It is what it is, and we are prioritizing from what we see you guys to see as important. And quite frankly, there are very easy ways to buy stocks, so this wouldn't be like a world's first product like the ones that we usually like to bring out to market. There's the eToros, the Robinhoods, IG is the interactive brokers of this world, and I don't see how we can, what competitive advantage we can offer at this stage. So I would have us invest in different offerings. Any news on the banking license? Fortunately, nothing I can share at this time because of the complexity of the matter, because of non-disclosure agreements, because of the sensitivity with which regulators have, approached anything crypto related. I just don't feel it will be to anyone's benefits. I know it's a curious topic. I know you want to know as much as you possibly can on it, but about it, but it's just so much I can say, and I would rather not say anything and we end up with a banking license than, frivolously disclose something that might jeopardize a deal from a successful completion. Antony, you give always a price prediction on Bitcoin. The community would like to know your price prediction for the NEXO token as of the end of this year. Thanks. Asks Nexo Way of Life. New Way of Life. Has this always been the moniker? Wasn't it Nexo Way of Life and now it's Nexo New Way of Life? I'm confused. I have to double check. Be that as it may, it's a great question. Now, the reason I am more willing to give prediction on Bitcoin is that I have zero impact on the direction that Bitcoin is going, and I have zero impact with my predictions on the market condition. This makes me free to speak my mind with regards to Bitcoin, where the overall market is going, etc. And that's why I do it, and I do have a better track record than some in predicting where Bitcoin is going. Now, with regards to the NEXO token, I'm just simply too close to the action. I am a managing partner at the company. I do this sessions. I do have what will be in security laws terms considered insider information. I am an insider to the NEXO enterprise, the things that are in the pipeline, and those affect the pricing of the NEXO token. And here, whatever I say can have its impact, and this can be serious things. So that's why I don't give predictions or specific targets for the NEXO token. My ultimate belief is that fair value is in the double digits, and I think that's where we ultimately headed. But this is no different than any insider of any company being bullish on its own company, because if you're not yourself bullish on the company, you're in trouble. You're the wrong company, or it's just working something you don't believe in. I don't wish this to be the case for anyone, so I'm not going to give a particular price prediction and a particular deadline, but just we should be in the double digits, my humble opinion, but that's just my opinion. And definitely don't take this as financial advice, and definitely don't put your kids' college funds or any money that you cannot live without. And this goes the same for NEXO token, goes for Solana, which is the hottest thing right now, goes for Bitcoin, goes for NFTs, goes just for stocks, it goes for any digital or non-digital assets, any sort of activity that can be considered an investment. Don't invest more than you can lose. Maybe not even in treasury bonds, if you permit me that joke, but you have to be very careful. You have to do your own research, and generally don't listen to gurus. There's some good ones, but ultimately everybody has their own agenda. They either hold the asset or they might not have skin in the game, so whatever happens might not affect them the same way as it would you. So always do your own research and, you know, invest in what you believe is good, and don't let Antony or anyone for that matter tell you where a particular market is going. Now obviously if the NEXO token, if the general market performs well, so will more likely than not the NEXO token. So if I'm bullish on Bitcoin, I'm bullish on the NEXO token by extension. Hi Antony, I saw someone else talking about this, but I guess it didn't make it to the top 10 questions, so I ask it instead. Do you plan for Nexo to be involved in the NFT market? Asks Carl. Now, Carl, with the way that NFTs have permeated the news cycle, and everywhere you look, you see NFTs, you cannot ignore it. Quite frankly, I familiarized myself with NFTs about a year ago from an interview that I don't remember who it was with, but I remember some of the aspects that digital art was very much part of it, and I always been a person who appreciates arts the way I was brought up, you know, always visiting museums, and my mother always talking about art and acquiring art. So this was always interesting to me. Now, the notion of non-fungible tokens, whereby you would pay tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars of a token because it is unique or it's considered digital art, it was very foreign to me. I don't, to this day, quite frankly, understand it. I see now whole industries being built upon, you know, Decentraland and Block Party, you know, all these markets where, you know, NFTs make up for the assets that's being bought, traded, transferred, acquired on. And you know, now there are virtual worlds where certain NFT opens access to doors, and you know, the way that a nice Patek Philippe watch would open the gates of a nice disco club or a restaurant for you. You might not have a reservation, but you have a flashy watch on, so you know the Maître D might take a notice and take you in. And this all is very foreign to me. I'm, relatively speaking, a young guy, you know, definitely a millennial, and I am accustomed to, you know, the digital world. And yeah, I hang around my phone all day, and I'm every now and then on Instagram, and a lot of the time on Twitter, checking out feeds, interacting with people, or more on the reading side than on the writing side. But that's just me. I have too much work. But you know, definitely not foreign to internet culture the way my parents are, or grandparents. Well, I don't have any grandparents, but if I had, it's still this you know, world of NFTs does not have me convinced at this stage, and it might be my own fault. You know, I might be too short-sighted or whatever, but there definitely are discussions at Nexo how we can go about offering something useful. You know, we're not in for a quick cash grab. Like, I'm not gonna, nobody worry, I'm not gonna paint something and try and sell it to you as an NFT. You know, we're very far from that, but just thinking about the ecosystem and the way we have developed something useful for the crypto space, can we leverage that knowledge and expertise and do something useful for the NFT space. Questions that we are asking ourselves, and more recently are asking ourselves, don't have a conclusive answer at this point, but this is something on our radar, and if you have any suggestions, do feel free to share them. It is just a world that I'm only now starting to explore on a personal level and as a company as well. So we don't have particular plans, but we are checking it out. We are keeping track. We are informing ourselves, and maybe we can see what the outcome ultimately of something useful might look like. Hi Antony, the vote to daily interest keeps a lot of selling pressure to the NEXO token. Will there be new utilities that will take away the selling pressure? Well, the reason I'm pausing here and I'm thinking is, do we want to attribute selling pressure, if there's any, on the NEXO token to the daily interest? And why would that be the case? Because I'm not sure it is. What has changed is that, from a system where dividends were being paid out at least once a year, we moved away to a system where the NEXO token gets interest paid on a daily basis, and in my humble opinion, a very generous rate. So I don't see that as a reason why anyone would want to sell their NEXO token, especially not in the context you would keep it for the dividend but sell it now that you have the earned interest mechanism. So I just don't see how that is connected. If anything, if crypto is in a bull run and NEXO is lagging behind, you need more NEXO in order to get the best rates possible. So that will be a stimuli for buying rather than selling. If it is outperforming, you're happy to be accumulating something that's outperforming via the earned interest mechanism. There's a bunch of different utilities that now go with the NEXO token. So, and quite frankly, I don't think it was selling pressure. Like a year ago we were trading at 10 cents. Now we are $2 last time I checked, and I haven't checked it since yesterday, so we might be a bit off with the pricing, but around $2. That's a 20x, is it not? Price increase. Yes, it has traded higher, but so has Bitcoin. Usually the large coins, they lead the rally with the new cool thing, whatever that is. Last year was Chainlink, then it was Cardano, now it appears it's Solana. Somewhere in there we had the Tor chain. There's always something that's outperforming everything. For a while it was the NEXO token. Obviously didn't make it to the top 10, but quite a performance it had too. So this comes in cycles. We are not some protocol level that all of a sudden sees a little bit of network activity and it goes 100x. It's just not the type of investment. But then again, during bear markets, the NEXO token also does well. So it constitutes a good asset for a diversified digital portfolio. Again, it's not financial advice, but it's my way of viewing things, and we're always bringing out new utilities, and every quarter is something new and useful associated with the NEXO token, and yet another reason for you to hold it. So is it going to 10x the next month? Probably not. Is it the asset of a well-performing, growing company? And will the market appreciate it? In my opinion, yes. So it's about what you are ultimately after, and we are not getting caught up in the day-to-day fluctuations of any asset, and the NEXO token makes no exception there. So yeah, of course new utilities will be brought out, and I don't think there is a selling pressure, and it's definitely not because we switched to interest being paid out daily. Hi Antony, I secretly was expecting an exchange listing early after the Nexonomics vote, as security hazards were likely lifted. Being in the top 100 currencies, we all expect listing in a major centralized exchange. Okay, not really a question in the traditional sense where it would end with a question mark, but Phil, a good point. It's no secret, part of the reasons we restructured the NEXO token is to be even more inclusive, and certain jurisdictions to be able to transact with the NEXO token more freely, in the hope that this will also encourage exchanges to be more forthcoming with regards to the NEXO token. But at the end of the day, you can see what's happening. There is, I wouldn't call it a crackdown, but there's definitely regulatory interest into the activities of most exchanges. Binance instantly comes to mind. You can see it in the news, every jurisdiction, sending in questionnaires, examining their behavior. Some notices have been posted because, I know what you mean when you say a major centralized exchange, you mean Binance, because obviously it's important to people and you cannot blame them. But again, we're not in the times where the ICOs, where just because you list a token on any one exchange, it will go 10x. These days are long gone, in my humble opinion. And you see that with the regulatory scrutiny, the exchanges are taking a more conservative approach this past few weeks, and I don't think that they would be changes on that front anytime soon. So what everyone, including you, Phil, has been expected has been pushed back by something that we are not ultimately responsible for, and this is the way the SEC and the other regulators are viewing the activities of exchanges, so I really can't speak to them. Hi from New Zealand. What day can we deposit Cardano? Asks Oscar. Now I am confused here. I think Cardano should be live and running, and if not, I have been on vacation too long. I promise not to go on a 2-week vacation anytime soon, so or maybe the team can follow up, but I don't think we have problems with Cardano. I don't think we are excluding New Zealand from our services, so I'm not sure what the question is about. We have to double check and come back to you. Hope you appreciate the honesty. And the other thing, it proves that this is a live Ask Me Anything session, and for some reason I'm getting a notice that you can't quite deposit and withdraw yet, so I think this has to do something with the IT system, and I'm sure the guys are working on it, and it will be enabled as soon as it is safe for the platform and the customer funds to do that. So probably very soon. Moving on to the next question. Yeah. What about Nexonomics? What's next? Asks us Sam frequent contributor. You know, Nexonomics is a endeavor and a chapter, a very massive one in the Nexo novel, and quite a few pages have been filled out this past quarters, and you know, you can see the result in the massive run-up we had in the NEXO token. I don't have anything particular that I would like to announce today on that front, so you know, as soon as we do, we'll make the announcements. Obviously, myself included and the entire team, we are NEXO token holders, so we're all in this together, and we want the NEXO token to have more utility, to have even more value, to be appreciating in price. So you can be assured that we are constantly working on it, on improving the Nexonomics, and at the same time, I don't want to be making announcements, promises on every single Ask Me Anything session, because you guys are there very careful to haunt me with everything I promised, and every pushback in the estimated time of arrival of a particular product is tormenting. So that's why we are only doing announcements that we know are around the corner, and quite frankly, for this month, I don't have anything to announce that is of interest here. We are working on a bunch of excited things, it's just not ready to be shared yet. €1,000 seems a bit high for a minimum deposit. Do you have plans on lowering the minimum deposit? Asks Peter. That's a great question, Peter, and I fully concur. The thing is that the threshold for fiat, this is not something we arbitrarily came up with. This usually has to do with, pardon me, the air pressure is running low, and yeah, that's why I had to yawn. It's by no means because I'm bored or anything. It's just physiological. I am a human being as well. But yeah, I mean, this minimum amounts are something that our banking partners impose on us. You know, I would love for us to have as low as €1. It just simply does not quite work that way in the incumbent legacy banking system, and that's why we're working on banking licenses. That's why we're working on you know, us as Nexo, and then that's why people are working on a bunch of different protocols, because we know that's not good enough, and we want to be ahead of the curve. But you know, with fiat money, we are still at this stage where, you know, we are relying on our partners, so we cannot quite lower it yet, and it has to do with restrictions that are imposed by to us by third parties. Next one. How is Nexo interest being paid out? When we voted to move to interest from dividend, we were told that Nexo tokens would be bought on the open market to pay interest. Is there a wallet we can monitor to see this, as we did for the buyback? Okay, well, how's the interest being paid out? It's being paid out on a daily basis, right? The Nexo tokens are being bought at the open market. They are also tokens that we accumulate from, you know, credit lines that have defaulted, or that people have not paid back, or you know, there are different ways by which the Nexo tokens can be accumulated and are being accumulated. So it is a plethora of different acquisition mechanisms, but ultimately it is us as a company out of the profits which are then spent on acquiring those NEXO tokens and drying up the the selling side of the order book on exchanges, on the OTC desk, etc. And that's the reason why we don't have a dedicated wallet, because it's very hard to determine what was acquired as from the credit line or by means of purchasing it from the open market, etc. And this would actually raise more questions than give answers. So that's why we haven't really gone into the rabbit hole of thinking about how we best present this to you and how we make it work in terms of accounting. But this is definitely something that we will be doing going forward, stepping up the transparency of this as well. And but there are ways for you even today to see that we're not increasing the supply of the NEXO tokens, because you can see that not more tokens are not coming into circulation, and the team is not selling their tokens, we're definitely not paying out of the strategic reserves. You can see all of those maintain and staying in the smart contract with their respective addresses, and this gives you the indirect proof that we're actually purchasing these tokens from the open market, or they come via the credit lines, versus expanding the supply side, which I presume is what worried the anonymous author of this question. So while we haven't stepped up the transparency of the purchase product to the necessary level, you can rest assured that we're not acquiring, we're not increasing the supply side of the NEXO token, the total supply, and this is good enough for the time being aware that we need to step up the transparency here. Hi, do you have any prediction on what your stablecoin APY for earning will be the next 5 to 10 years? That's a good one. Yeah, without wanting to go into the details of the expansive monetary policy and what the current Fed chair is going to do, and there were rumors they're going to raise interest rates, and this will ultimately percolate down the line of to APYs on stable coins, etc. It's a very difficult question. It is the same as asking me or your banker or anyone for that matter, what is the current, what is the mortgage rate going to be on my mortgage in 5 or 10 years? Nobody can tell you that, because this will be very useful information. You can either get a flexible mortgage rate or a fixed one if you knew where the rates would be. I'm hopeful they're going to be high or remain high. Whether they're sustainable at their current level, it depends on too many factors which I cannot dare predict. It's just too many unknowns. It depends on what interest rates for the general economy are, what inflation is going to look like, what the central banks are going to do, what crypto itself is going to be doing, what the competitor is going to do, what the marketplace is going to do. It's just too many variables. It's a equation with too many unknowns for me to make a serious prediction. I would assume they will, even in the next 5 to 10 years, remain higher than what you would have in the traditional banking system. This is my personal opinion, I just don't see how taper would work in practice. Every time they even mention the word taper during the Fed meetings, the minutes of their meetings or wherever, the S&P takes a 10% dive, and investors and the pension funds and mutual funds and I don't know what type of funds, they all scream foul, and the Fed is back to easing asset purchases and money printer go brr. So I quite frankly cannot give you a serious prediction. I would presume they'll remain at elevated levels. I have some funds that are earning interest for me. This works for me as well, and it's just the overall market conditions. We do like higher interest rates because we do like to be able to give something to the community that they were deprived of via the monetary policy that we had that we had since the Great Recession. Thankfully, not the Great Depression, but the Great Recession. So, quite frankly, I don't know. We will have to wait and see. Hopefully, higher than any other industry, so that we can be running. We can be earning a little something on the side, and hopefully, inflation fears will not come to fruition. I personally am worried about inflation. I know the Fed told us this is all transitory, and what you're feeling right now is not really inflation, but it's something else, and it's definitely gone away. But I just don't see how. There's this very interesting graph that was circulating on Twitter where 37% of all dollars in existence have been printed in the last 18 months. So I just cannot fathom how this amount of primary printing, then going through the banking system and they lending out essentially 10x, that does not result in inflation. But hey, the economy is saying we're going to be all right. I'm sure we're going to be all right. Okay, we can move to the question. The next question. Before we do that, just one thing came to my mind with regards to Cardano. It is that right now, while we are awaiting the full integration of deposits and withdrawals and earn product, etc., we have the synthetic asset, which replicates the movements of Cardano and can be traded on the exchange for all the Cardano fans. And it's synthetic on the exchange, but underlying we're purchasing and selling the asset itself. So we're not taking the other side of your trade, just for your understanding how the exchange works. But yeah, deposits or withdrawals are coming soon. Now I'm moving to Ben's question. Hello, Antony. You mentioned being interviewed during one of the questions. It's been a week or two since you showed up in the media. When is the next interview? Well, yeah. Actually, I had one interview request by CNBC, and it was just at a very inconvenient time. As I said, I tried to relax a little bit, but right now from here, I'm going to the opera. Placido Domingo is singing tonight, so looking forward to that event. And after that, I'm headed back to the studio where we're gonna have a nice interview with Benzinga, which is a website, for those of you who are not familiar with it, for financial news aimed predominantly at the younger audience. So super excited about that. They're taking quite an interest in crypto. recently, so excited to be honest. It's going to be a first for me with that media, and hopefully it will go well. And yeah, this is on the interviewing front. Do we have any more questions? Oh, we actually made a full hour. All right, well, thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. A pleasure as always. I did get a chance to relax a little bit, but now I'm at it again, hitting it hard. And you know, I am excited for next month's edition, and hopefully we'll have some terrific news and announcements, and we can discuss a month well spent once we see how the September of 2021 goes. Thank you so much, guys. Take care now. Bye.